Wednesday. I am your host, George Miller. I'll be sharing details of how Career Lab Wednesday works. We're just taking a moment to get live here. Thanks for joining in. All right, sweet. We are live. So, um, great to have you on. I see a few people joining in directly here on the Zoom link, and that is what I love when you're able to. I like it when you can jump in here directly on Zoom. That makes it so I can speak directly with you. You don't have to come on camera if you don't want to. You can always just do audio. Or if you are not wanting to share publicly, you can always type your questions into the chat. So if you're on Zoom, you can always type questions into the chat and let me know that you want to remain anonymous, and I will keep it that way. Now, for those of you who are viewing in on LinkedIn Live, you are welcome to join in on the Zoom as well. You don't have to, but if you want to, and if you want to have a quicker engagement with me, jump in on here on Zoom. And if you can't do that, then what I want you to do is type your questions into the comment section, and Jane will get those over to me, and I'll do my best to answer those questions from the comment section. But again, if you're able to, if you're down for it, jump on in here in the Zoom link, and I can work with you more directly that way. So this is a topic today that it's near and dear to me. This is really the core of a lot of the coaching that I do is emotional intelligence. And so welcome. Good to have you here. Welcome, Cass. So as you're joining in, part of how this works is that you're welcome to ask questions at any time. You can jump off mute and ask questions, or you can type them into the chat section, whatever you prefer. So today I'm talking about emotional regulation. How do you regulate your emotions at work? This is a big thing. All of us can improve in this area. At a certain level, technical skills are important, but as a leader, if you're going to develop as a leader and be more effective on teams, you need to increase your emotional intelligence. And learning how to regulate emotions is key to this. So I'll share more about this, but I want to reiterate again, as I know we just got live and we've got people joining in here directly on Zoom as well as on LinkedIn Live, that if you have any questions, it does not have to do with this topic. You can ask any questions you have that are career related, and feel free to jump in at any time. I do things very differently than most is usually done in the corporate world. So you jumping in and getting value for yourself is the most important thing to me. So any questions you can ask about resumes, you can ask about interview process, you can ask about managing, you can ask about how to partner with your team better, you can ask about how to lead a team better, anything. And even questions like, am I really doing what I came here on earth to do? Am I really satisfied in my job? Anything is on the table. So with that said, and you can jump in at any time, I'm going to keep sharing a little bit more about regulating your emotions at work. So a key thing to understand about emotional intelligence and why everybody is paying more and more attention to EQ, emotional intelligence, is because we are learning that it is needed to be effective, that simply being logical doesn't work. We all have emotions. It's not a matter of getting over them. It's not a matter of shutting them down. It's a matter of becoming more familiar with our emotions so that I can be in better rapport with the people around me. So we have first social intelligence. First is emotional intelligence, becoming more aware of myself, my relationship with my feelings. Because as I do that, I'm then going to be better at social intelligence, being able to read other people's emotions and knowing how to communicate more effectively with that person. So we all have different love languages, different communication styles, all kinds of things. And so as I learn more about me, it actually helps me have more clarity about other people. Is if I'm constantly looking out and reacting to other people, saying, I think this is what they mean, and why do they say that? Why are they doing it that way? Well, I first have to look inward and say, what's up with my response to that? Interesting how I'm responding to that person. How do I feel about that? What does that mean to me? Because as I do that, I'm then going to give myself a little bit of the distance that is needed to actually be able to see the other person and respond more effectively. So that's kind of a high level run through of this. But I want to share, I'm going to share some slides today that I think might be helpful. There's a model that Dr. Judith Wright put together that I found very helpful in looking at how to regulate emotions. It's called the in, out, up, down model. And for those of you viewing it now, if you ever want to learn more about this, dig in deeper, I put this stuff up on my YouTube channel. And I do have one about the in, out, up, down model there. So we'll throw a link to my YouTube channel in there. And there's also things like hypnosis videos and ASMR videos and that kind of thing too. That if you're into that, you may find helpful as well. Okay, so what I want to do is share with you the in, out, up, down model and just talk about it. And reminder to everybody who's joining in on Zoom here or on LinkedIn Live or on YouTube that are free to you are free to ask questions at any time. And your questions don't have to do with the topic today. You're welcome to ask a question that has something to do with resumes or interviews. That's totally fine. Anything career related is on the table. But I'm going to share with you the in, out, up, down model. So here we have this. Oh, well, I got to get this thing out of the way. Okay, there you should be able to see this better. So the first part is being in touch with what's going on inside of myself. I'm able to identify with others and let experiences in. So again, emotional intelligence, being able to take things in, to be able to say, whoa, when my teammate at work asked me for this product or where this thing was located, wow, I really noticed that I felt kind of irritated. I wonder what's going on with me that I felt irritated. Let me explore that some. Oh, whoa. Okay, you know what? I actually felt kind of afraid because I'm already working on three things. They asked me for that. I want to get that to them. And so I'm feeling, I kind of have some anxiety about that. Okay. Oh, interesting that I'm feeling anxiety about that. okay, well, what else might I be feeling anxiety about? So that ability to take stuff in emotionally, to be able to pay attention to myself and take in my experiences. This is just the basics of emotional intelligence, just basic stuff that we're focusing on. And I'm going to stop sharing because I want to do a little rant on this. So, emotion, like this is a territory in human development where going back to the basics is so important because none of us really learned how to work with our emotions in a healthy way growing up. And it's not, no blame to anybody, but it's just to put it out on the table and say, I could have a better relationship with me and my emotions. And this is so easy to overlook. Well, what's so cool about it is that even a small change goes a long way. So if I'm able to identify what's going on with myself and I'm able to make sense of my emotions, that has a huge impact in all the interactions that I'm having throughout the day. So I'm going to pull this thing back up here in a moment. But I wanted to underline that part of the beauty of training in emotional intelligence is that it makes a big freaking difference right now. It makes a big difference for you. Hey, welcome, Linda. Good having you back. Let me know if you have any questions at any time. Feel free to jump in. So I'm going to share the screen again. So there we go. That's about the in part, being able to take in what's going on, the emotional experience that's happening for me. Then the out, being able to express, to free flow, responsible expression, to be able to communicate authentically. For all my analyzers out there, people who are really into data, one of the things that often happens for you is that you take things in and you think about, you digest, dissect. But at some point you need the ability to express. At some point, you need to be able to put out what you've been taking in a way that's personalized to you. Because otherwise, you're not going to get the connection. You're not going to get the results that you want. So in your emotional facility, you need to be able to take things in, take in your experiences, be aware of your feelings, and then communicate those feelings, communicate that. At work, an example of this, like what I was talking about earlier, is like, you get a team member asks you for something and you notice that you feel irritated, and then you kind of dig in a little more and you're like, oh, that means because I'm actually scared. And then you might do the sort and say, you know what? It's actually not, this is what they're asking me for is not the top priority right now. And they might not be aware of that. So I'm going to respond to them and I'm going to say, hey, thanks for reaching out about that. I've got these other things on my plate right now. I'm not going to address this until this time. If you need it sooner, if you need it sooner, give me a call and let's see if we can work it through. Or I would recommend reaching out to so and so or something like that. So, I just want you to be picturing how this stuff plays out in real time. Because one of the things that will usually happen for us when we're not able to take in an experience and be aware of our own emotions, in that scenario, I so easily could respond to the person asking me for something with okay, fine, I'll get it to you soon. And then I'm all kind of harried and like, oh, geez, now I got to do this on top of that. And now I'm like, and that actually increases the chance that I'm going to make mistakes and that I'm going to be building up resentments. And then at some point down the line, I'll be like, geez, this person is just always like they don't really understand. But if I'm not able to communicate my anxiety in a responsible way to another person, that's going to continue to isolate me and keep me in a box that doesn't feel good ultimately and doesn't help me grow. So there we are so far with the in out up down model of emotional facility. I'm going to stop sharing my screen briefly because when I'm doing that I can't see all y'all. And just check in. I want to check in with anybody who's here on the Zoom link or anybody who's joining in on LinkedIn Live and see if you have any questions, any responses to what we're talking about so far. And again, your questions don't have to do with this topic. If you came here to find out something about your resume or um, managing up or anything like that, please ask. And for those of you who are on LinkedIn, go ahead and type your questions into the comment section. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep sharing this model. And if you have anything that comes up, don't hesitate to type your question into the chat or come off mute and share with me. Okay, so now on to the next part of this model. We have up. So the in, out, up, down emotional facility model. So when I've learned how to be in touch with my emotions, what's going on inside the inner world of George Miller, I'm learning how to express that out in a responsible way. The example I gave earlier about, hey, I'm concerned that you're asking for this thing. I'm not able to get it back to you right now. I wanted to let you know that if you need it sooner, then we're going to need to come up with another plan here. So being able to communicate my anxiety or my upset about something, to be able to do that in a responsible way. Now, for the up part. Oh, for the up part. Oh, can I send the model in an email? Yeah, I think we could do that. Just go ahead and type your email in, and we should be able to get that over to you. Thanks for asking. Um, so now for the up part, the ability to identify and intensify your experience and to be able to express your emotions, to have a faster idle. And like think about like a car, like being able to get up and go a little quicker. So when I'm being in touch with what I'm feeling and I'm able to communicate that responsibly, then I may be able to say to myself, you know what? I'm aware of what I'm feeling, and there's kind of more going on in this internal world of George Miller. And you know what? I'm kind of, now that I'm in touch with more of my emotions and I'm communicating this more, I have more access to more aliveness. I have more access to just aliveness in general in how I express stuff. And you know what? I'm going to be able to choose at times to go from maybe where my um you know automatic response to things is of just kind of sitting back and assessing to, oh, you know what, there is actually times where it's important for me to get up and express a little more. There's times where that's going to be a healthy thing to do. Now I'm thinking of this in terms of kids. So clients that I have who have brought in, sometimes they said, honestly, I don't really have anything at work that's come to mind. I'm thinking about something with one of my kids. Can I bring that in here? And I'm like, absolutely, because the coaching is all for you. And if you're able to apply it with your kids, you're probably going to be able to apply it at work too. So one of the ways that I have seen clients use the in, out, up, down model with their kids is one of their kids may be kind of very expressive. Might be somebody who kind of acts out a lot, might be the child who seems to like, kind of throw temper tantrums and do things to get a lot of attention. And they're like, they don't know what to do with that. So, in that case, what a parent's able to do is to identify their feelings, what's going on. It's like, wow, I'm feeling anxiety about how alive my kid is, how much they're expressing. And then they're able to amp up their emotions in a responsible way and communicate that to their kid and to actually mirror back to their child that they too are able to express at a higher level. And that actually provides safety to the child. This is a big one, especially for analyzer types who happen to have an energizer type child. Like, it's going to help your kid if you're able to ramp up your aliveness some so that your child doesn't feel like such an alien in the family. And a way that this is, now that I've talked about it a little more, a way that I've worked this with clients at work is if you're doing a presentation. One client I had, he works in um I'm not going to say his exact profession, but basically it's research analysis stuff. And he was giving us a talk, and what he did to prepare for it was to get in touch with his feelings and to enjoy talking about what he was talking about. He's very passionate about his career path. He's very passionate about his research. And so he was able to ramp up his expression about that. And he found that everybody paid more attention to him. And they even put him on the cover of the magazine as the featured speaker for that event. And he was like, dude, in my industry, the bar is so low that like he's like, it's not like was even that over the top. I just spoke with a little more expression than anybody else, and it made such a difference. Everybody was listening to me. Everybody came up and asked more questions afterwards. So being able to identify what he was feeling, he was able to say, well, I'm feeling anxious. I feel a little bit of fear about speaking in front of people. And you know what else? I even feel a little bit of like anger or aggression because this is something I care about. So I'm gonna use that aggression in a positive way to like make some solid points about this topic I'm talking about. And you know what? I love what I'm talking about, so I'm even going to express more joy about it. So he was able to put that out in a responsible way and able to, inside himself, turn up the volume on his aliveness, turn up the volume in a good way on his emotions. So that's that one. I'm going to check in with everybody. Oh, great. Okay, well, we'll get you that. We'll get you a screenshot of that model in a little bit here. And again, for anybody joining in, you're always welcome to subscribe to my YouTube channel where I am putting out more content. Some of it is very emotional intelligence education based, and some of it is stuff of me jumping into icy water in Lake Michigan in the winter, which, by the way, has a lot to do with my personal growth, I'll call it my spiritual development, of being with discomfort, being with something that is out of my comfort zone, so that I grow and develop the part of me that is able to stay with discomfort. So what I do with my clients is I help them identify where their edge is at in relationships at work or whatever, etc. And then as they're identifying that, I help them step over that edge and look around and say, okay, I like this or I don't like this, or and feel that out. So it's essentially what I'm doing with myself in ice waters. I go out and I see where my limit is. Anyway, so if you're gonna subscribe to my channel, be forewarned, you'll also be seeing stuff of me jumping into the lake. Now, again, for anybody joining in, you're welcome to type your questions into the chat. I've got a few people sharing their emails, so I'll be able to send them a screenshot of this. And then I'm going to continue here. And reminder, though, you're able to jump in at any time, type in any questions career related. They don't have to do with this topic, or they could have to do with this topic, whatever you want, whatever is on the table. Okay, so back to the emotional facility model. Again, this is designed by Dr. Judith Wright, who has really researched emotional intelligence. So it's very, very good stuff here. Now, for the emotional facility, we've looked at in, out, up, and now we're looking at down. We want to be able to identify and soothe ourselves, to be able to down-regulate our emotions, to contain our emotions, to be able to calm ourselves. Because as we learn and grow, as we develop ourselves, if we take on a new position at work, it's going to mean that we get triggered. It's going to mean that we're going to have more feelings. We're going to have heightened feelings. It's really important. Now, first, we have to be able to know what's going on inside of us. For me to be able to say, I feel afraid. I'm concerned about something. And then to be able to express that concern in a responsible way. And sometimes I may choose, instead of ramping up and expressing and turning my aliveness higher, I may say, you know what? Actually, now I need to soothe myself. I need to give myself a little space. I need to kind of get a view of myself from a different perspective. So I'm going to acknowledge that I just got an email from a coworker saying that they need this thing, and that I feel, angry, and I'm kind of irritated, and I'm also starting to recognize that I'm scared. You know what? And I'm just going to take a moment, take a breath, say, hey, it's okay. I'm responding. I'm having these reactions because I'm somebody who cares a lot. I want to do a good job. I care about my team. You know what? And I'm doing a pretty good job here. So I'm just going to kind of contain this. I'm going to down regulate a little bit here, soothe myself some. Again, that deep breath that helps soothe our parasympathetic nervous system. For extra credit, I know it's a little weird, but if you're not on a meeting and your face isn't showing, you can always, and if you're not on camera right now, you can try this. You take your thumb and you dig either your thumb into that bottom part right there and breathe in deeply, or for super extra credit, you'll put it right here and you'll bite down on it. And you breathe in deeply. That really hits the parasympathetic nervous system. It's kind of like giving yourself an internal hug. That's why babies suck their thumb. And so there's little tricks you can do. Deep breath, squeezing on your thumb like that, standing up and walking around for a minute. This kind of thing where you're able to down regulate. So but first you have to be aware that that's even happening. You have to be aware, like, whoa, I had a big reaction to something that just happened. And maybe it's not going to be, it'll be better if I give myself a little space before I respond to this email. So learning how to down regulate, to soothe yourself, to be able to tend to yourself internally. And honestly, what research shows is that simply being able to name your feelings and say, whoa, I feel scared right now, or whoa, that that really had me feel like they didn't understand where I was coming from, and I feel pretty hurt by the way that that person reacted to me. Just doing that is actually down regulating. Just identifying what the feeling is for yourself is soothing, is helping you to regulate your emotions. Okay. So this is the in, out, up, down model. Again, thanks for asking for us to share it. We'll be sending that out later today. But I want to check back in with everybody and see if you have any questions in response to this model. Is there any insights that you're having, or any questions that you have about where you're working right now, or in your interview process, or wherever? And let me know if you have some questions. I'd be happy to help you apply what we're just looking at in terms of you and your career. You can type your questions directly into the chat here. And if you're on LinkedIn Live, you're welcome to type your questions into the comment section. Let me know, what questions do you have? How is this landing with you? How are you seeing this and wanting to apply what you're learning about emotional regulation? How are you wanting to apply that in your life? Apply that at work? You're welcome to come off mute or just type into the chat and let me know. Oh, cool. Okay, we're getting a question here from LinkedIn Live. So I have started learning a new course, but I am hiding from my friends because I think it couldn't be more concentrated if I tell someone what should I do. Should I tell them what I'm doing? They're getting annoyed when I'm trying to hide. Huh. Well, that's an interesting question. So you started learning a new course and you're hiding it from your friends. Some questions that I have for you about that is, what are you feeling? What's the feeling that has you hiding that? Are you feeling afraid? Are you feeling hurt, like they wouldn't understand? Are you feeling angry that they're bothering you? Or are you feeling, maybe you're even feeling some joy that they're curious? But if I'm understanding this correctly, it sounds to me like you're wanting to buckle down and really apply yourself in this course, and that you're seeing your friends as a distraction to you doing that. Like I'm guessing that you have some concern that if you start sharing this with them, that somehow it's not going to serve you well. And in that case, you know, maybe the appropriate thing to do would be to say, hey, I'm working on something that's really important to me. I'll be happy to share about it afterwards, but for right now, this is it's kind of I'm feeling more private about it. I really want to just focus my time and energy on it. I appreciate that you're interested. I feel happy hearing that, but I'll let you know once I'm done with it. I'll be happy to share more about this course. So that might be the way to do it. So let me know if that's helping. Thank you for your question, by the way. I really appreciate it. And for everybody listening in, your job isn't to try to answer that question for the person who just asked it. but is to look at that question and see where that fits for you in your life. Where are where do you have relationships that where you're hiding stuff, where you're not in, and where could you apply that to you? Is it at work? Is it with your spouse, with your kids, with friends or family members, where, it might be like, geez, I just wish they would leave me alone sometimes. And how might I communicate that in a responsible and effective way so that it's a win-win, and I don't kind of keep trying to, hide from them. Okay, so yeah, so you're seeing them as a distraction. Well, you know, that's a big thing. And it may be important for you to communicate that on some level to them, that, hey, for the type of learner that I am, or for where I'm at right now, I really need alone time in order for me to do this in the way that I want to. And I'll share more about it later. Oh, good. Okay, so you're saying, yep, I made it simple for you to, okay, good, 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 good. Well, sweet. Thank you so much for asking that. Because that being able to communicate to the people that we care about, or even people we don't care about, but being able to communicate what we want in an effective way is really important. And again, back to my earliest point in today's session, is that you can always learn technical skills. Depending on what your job is, you have to. That's an important thing. We need to learn, if I'm driving a car, I hope that it was put together well by people. Like, I want I want people to be very, very good technically, to be able to put things together well. That's incredibly important. But we are at a point where teamwork is incredibly important, where we have to have more and more teamwork, because making a car actually requires a lot of people and a lot of teamwork. So while technical skills are absolutely important, emotional intelligence is even more important. Whoa. Why do I say it's even more important? Because research shows that as you are more in touch with your emotions, you're even able to learn technical skills quicker. And at a certain point in your career, you will have to become more emotionally intelligent if you're going to advance. That's just the state of things in the world. I mean, unless you're an absolute genius, there are people who are total geniuses and may not need to develop their emotional intelligence to be successful in their careers. But even them, it would probably benefit them. So it's a very important thing, and it's great. So Mohammed, so I hope that helps. You said it did. Good to hear. Underlining the point, emotional intelligence is so important. It will help you communicate what you need in an effective way. So again, if you're just joining in, you can type your questions into the comment or chat section, and you're welcome to come off mute and ask any questions that you have. And if you want to continue this work, you're able to set up a meeting with me. I'm happy to talk for 15 minutes. We can meet over the phone or on Zoom, and we can look at what you're working on. Sometimes people have used that time with me just to clarify that they're on the right path, to say, okay, I just wanted to check in and make sure that my interview strategy is good, or that the way that I'm managing is the way that it should be, and I'm able to help them get clarity about that and to go on their way. Sometimes people will want to meet with me longer, and we can talk about that and see what a coaching relationship looks like. So thank you, Jane, for throwing that in there. You're welcome to book 15 minutes with me. I'd love to talk, learn a little bit more about you and your goals, and help you in any way that I can. And then for those of you who know that you want more of this, that you want more emotional intelligence coaching and information, um, you're welcome to subscribe to my YouTube channel and be ready too for when I'm launching things on my website that you'll be able to participate in, just educationally. You'll be able to partake in things that help you become more aware of yourself and your feelings. And then again, if you want to look at a coaching relationship, now that I'll bring this in here. Part of the reason why a coaching relationship or doing this with other people is so important is because it helps give you another perspective. Personal growth books and podcasts and YouTube videos, they're great. They give you great information. But actually applying what you're learning, if you can do that in a coaching relationship, where you're actually doing things differently. You're not just thinking about it differently. You're actually thinking about and testing out new behaviors. Well, that's where I come in. And, or if you're working with a therapist, you may be able to use some of the curriculum, some of the educational things in your therapy relationship. That's a possibility too. Sometimes I've had people work with me for a little bit and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm getting so much more out of therapy now." Like, wow, thank you. I'm able to use my therapy sessions and get more out of them. And thank you for helping me learn how to do that. So there's a few ways to stay in touch and stay engaged with me. And we're coming up on the end of the hour. So if anybody has any questions or wants to share any ways that they're learning from the in, out, up, down model, go ahead and come off mute or type into the chat. You're welcome to type your questions into the chat or the comment section, or come off mute and let me know what you're working on. What's on your heart? How could I help you today? Okay. Well, our job may be done today then. So feel free to reach out. In the meantime, I will be back. Oh, okay, got it. So can you say more about that? Can you give me an example of issues with anger? I'll start pulling up some things. I have some hunches here, but as you can, type in a little more. Let me know more about what's going on. Is that at work, at home? Okay, so one of the things that goes on with anger, let me share this with you. So this is the right developmental model. You don't even have to pay attention to the stuff up here. I just want you to look at this. Anger is a level 3 feeling. What that means is that underneath the anger, there's also hurt and fear happening. And usually with us guys, what we do is we jump to anger and we want to try to control things, and we express anger, but it's ineffective. We find that we are ineffective in expressing our anger And that usually has to do with the fact that we're out of touch with our hurt and with our fear. And so a simple thing to do sometimes is to be able to, number one, okay, cool. So start at work and now affecting home as well. Okay, cool. So number one, what you're going to want to do is, now I'll jump back to this model. You're going to want to be able to name what you're feeling. So you did one already, which is I'm feeling angry. And then to let yourself be with that feeling and say, okay, what's going on inside that has me feeling angry? What's going on? What else is there? And if I listen to George Miller and the other model he just showed me and just assume that, okay, if I'm feeling angry, that must mean that I'm also feeling hurt and afraid. Huh. Well, what am I feeling hurt and afraid about? Okay. So now just by doing that, you're already down regulating. You're already soothing yourself. And so then you might be able to say, okay, at work, you know what? I'm actually feeling anxious about this, this, and this. I don't like some of the changes that were made. I'm feeling, I'm feeling afraid about it. And I'm also maybe, you know what? I maybe even feeling hurt that I don't think people are really appreciating me. And and you know what? And I see that's coming out as I do feel angry about it, but there's a lot more going on inside. Huh. Okay. Well, now that I've done that, I've down-regulated some, and now I may be able to express and put it out in a more responsible way. So I might be able to say, okay, hey, when I signed up for this role at work, here's what my understanding was. Things have changed. You're bringing in new stuff, and I'm angry that more is being put on my plate. And either one, I'm not being compensated more, so I don't really feel appreciated for the extra stuff that's coming on here. Or I'm feeling concerned because I don't know that I even know how to do this. And I certainly don't want to keep doing this all alone. And so, what's the plan here? Are you going to help? How am I going to learn how to do this effectively, or how am I going to be compensated in some kind of a way? If it's not financial at this point, well, then let's look at a job title. Let's look at, I'm essentially doing another job now, and I would like the recognition for that. And so by being able to go in, be in touch with the anger that you're feeling, then able to down regulate and soothe yourself some, you're able to sort out the complexity of the emotions happening inside of you. And the fear, the hurt, and the anger for us guys will usually just come out as only anger. And then other people are like, geez, what's wrong with George? Like, dude. And then what that's doing is then it just keeps me in a self-fulfilling prophecy of, see, nobody understands me. See, I'm alone and on my own. People take advantage of me. And it just maintains that, and I'm become increasingly resentful. But if I'm able to tap in and go to the fear and be with the fear of like, geez, my industry is changing so fast. I just don't know if I can keep up. Or the hurt of, oh my God, like I don't think anybody understands how challenging this is. I'm certainly not getting the recognition for it. Um, that's a really important thing to learn how to do, and it provides valuable feedback to your company, to your boss, to be able to share this kind of thing. A lot of times people leave and management's like, what's going on? And they don't even know. They don't understand the mistakes they've made and changes that they're implementing. So that's great. I love that question. That was a great question. Oh, good. Okay. Good, good, good. That's helpful. Excellent. That's a fantastic question. And for everybody listening in, be thinking about how you can apply that to yourself. Truth is, we live, I mean, we all know that changes happen, like life is change. Not only that, change is happening even faster. Things are speeding up. And we are going to have an overall anxious response to life and to where we're at. That's part of the picture. It's always been the case. And now there's a different nuance to that. So glad to hear that that's helpful. And so there's always going to be changes happening, and to be able to go inside and say, okay, here's what I'm feeling. Let me parse this out and say, okay, I'm hurt about this. I'm angry about this. I'm afraid about this. Now I can communicate that in a clear and responsible way with other people and get better results. Because quite frankly, and there's times too where a change happens at work. I've geez, I have a lot of clients, now I think about it, who reached out to me when they're like, hey, my company just made these changes. I'm really not happy about it. This is not the direction I want to go in. And, I figured I should talk to a coach about all this. And so we sort it through. And sometimes that's the case. They're like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to be this aggressive with sales. My company is going all in on this, and I don't think it actually serves the customer, and I don't feel good about it. And, you know, I think now that I'm getting more clarity about this, I'm looking for another job. And then how do I exit and how do I communicate this in a responsible way to my boss so that, I keep the relationship good, and my feedback to them may even be helpful, may even highlight some of the potential dangers that they're walking into. Number of people I've coached have become consultants because they realize, whoa, you know what? There's a lot of stuff that isn't working. And in fact, I'm highly trained enough that I'm going to be helping companies with the transitions that they're making. And, they're either paying me for that, by, a contract, or they're paying for me by that and bringing me on, but that's a clearly identified part of the job. And that's a big deal, is to be able to have that contract up front when you're starting your position and saying, okay, here's what my job is. Here's the resources I require to get this done. And you can expect me to, I'll be stirring some things up here. So great. I love that question. So thank you for asking that. There's so many ways that you can apply that. And the key thing here, the key takeaway I want for everybody to have, is that your emotions are important. It's incredibly important for you to be in touch with your emotions. Just right there, that question, I'm having issues with anger. It started at work and it's affecting home as well. And then to be able to look at the feelings that are inside of anger, or with anger, fear and hurt, and to be able to apply that to the work scenario. And now there's all these possibilities, there's all these opportunities that if I just stay at, geez, something's wrong with me for feeling angry, I need to get over feeling angry. Well, if that's the approach that I'm taking with my own feelings, nothing's going to work. And I will stay stuck. So just great question. We are coming up on the hour. I'm going to wrap up now, but thank you for joining in today. Thank you for your questions. I'm happy to share some of these resources with you. I'll email this over later. You've got the links to my YouTube channel, my website, and how to book a 15-minute call with me. All right. Blessings, everybody. Take care. Wishing you well. I'll see you next Wednesday, noon to 1 p.m. Central Time.